Good morning, everyone. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, good morning, Quentin.
Hi, guys. Shashi, is Irfan planning to run the meeting today, or is somebody else in charge?
I think he should join, but I'm not sure why he's late.
Okay, I have not prepared an agenda, but I guess we should start in the meantime in case Irfan doesn't arrive.
Yeah, sure.
Is anyone here from Google? Is Christian planning to join?
Christian can't make it today. This is Ian at Google.
Oh, Ian, are you? I don't think we've met before. Are you Christian's new manager?
Yes.
I heard rumors of such a thing. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Let me pull up the notes and we can see if we can get started.
Sorry guys, a little late to join today. This is Irfan.
Oh, excellent. Irfan, were you going to run the show?
Yes, I guess so. But last couple of meetings, we historically did not have much on the agenda. At least last 4 meetings have been like that. So I was expecting that there might be some update regarding cluster registry today, because I saw some mail sent by Jonathan about one of the latest releases.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I was going to suggest we've had quite a few companies coming to me in the past few weeks wanting to contribute here. Cisco, CERN, who else was there? There've been a few, and so I thought it'd be useful in the absence of anything else for us just to have a detailed update on the 3 major projects: Cluster Registry, KubeMCI, and Federation V2. And perhaps those who are wanting to contribute could give us a sort of overview of their interest in the project and where they would like to contribute.
Cool, that can be done. So is there enough presence in today's meeting where people might be benefited with this kind of update? I see only, no, not only, there are 14 guys. Okay.
Yeah, I see Jonathan's here, so hopefully he can give us an update on Cluster Registry. I don't know if anyone involved in KubeMCI is present. If they are, they can give us an update on what's going on there, and maybe Shashi and Irfan and Ivan can tell us what's going on with Federation V2.
Okay, sounds okay. Jonathan, are you listening?
Yeah, Jonathan's on his way. Why don't you? He's on his way down to the room that I'm in.
Okay.
So just give him a few more minutes. I think he's listening, but not able to talk yet.
Yeah, I remember. I am putting that in the agenda now. I remember one more point I and Shashi had a discussion about. So Shashi was going to start analyzing the implementation of federated ingress controller, or some mechanism which can benefit the ingress controllers in Kubernetes clusters. So there might be some discussion which might be needed for that. So I'm putting that in the agenda as of now.
Sounds good. Let's get started.
Yeah, actually, we came to know through Ivan, like Google SIG network folks have been working on federated ingress APIs. It seems like I'm unaware of that actually. So it would be great, like if there is any pointers to that.
Can anyone from Google comment there?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
We came to know through Ivan regarding like Google SIG networking folks have been working on federated ingress APIs, generalizing the whatever mechanism we have for KubeMCI.
Okay, if no one knows the details, we should follow up offline
Sure.
and coordinate the efforts, because, yeah, it doesn't make sense to have two groups working on the same thing without knowing about each other.
Okay.
It seems reasonable. I think also nobody right now on the Google side is here who is as familiar with that project. Unfortunately, I can't really speak to what's been done there as well. So
Yeah, a few people are on vacation this week, so
it is. I think it makes sense to follow up offline and make sure that that is aligned.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Shashi, can I ask you and Ian to get together and pull the right people in?
Yeah, sure.
yeah, Shashi, you can ping me on Slack or email me. I'll add my email address into the notes here.
Yeah, we will do. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with some update about individual projects then. I heard Jonathan was on the way. So KubeMCI, is there somebody who can update about KubeMCI for the benefit of the folks or the new folks in this meeting?
I think Shashi and Ian were going to follow up offline to get in sync about KubeMCI. I don't think there's anybody that can represent the current state of that.
Correct.
Okay. So, Quinton, should we put that in the agenda as in like an update for new contributors would be given in the next meeting or something like that, which might be beneficial for more folks to join in?
Sure. I have a sort of brief overview of what's going on. If none of those contributors are here, I can at least talk about what they've approached me about.
No, I did not mean in the terms of anybody giving an update. I meant if it is like an agenda in advance, it might there might be people who are just observing the meeting notes. So if we put an agenda in advance for say next meeting, then more folks might join in to get the update.
Yeah, I think
That's
that makes sense. Yeah, let's have project updates next time a little better prepared than this.
Yeah, time. I can right away put. Immediately after this meeting, I'll put an agenda for the next meeting as a project updates on the three for the benefit of new contributors.
Do you want to give us an update on Federation V2 in the meantime? Do you want to defer that for 2 weeks?
Yeah, so Federation V2, I can give. Do you want me to also update what exactly are we doing as part of Federation V2, or just the status update where we are at?
I think just a status update would be useful. People can follow up on the whole project if they want to read the separate docs.
Yeah, so Federation V2, there are two. It started off with two main efforts. One was the lower layer API or the base API that we considered the base API objects, which ideally should be sufficient for high level functions or any kind of controllers to be built around the concept of federation, of federating multiple clusters. So that lower layer stuff is generally has generally been taken care by the Red Hat guys. Maru and Ivan, I guess, are the main contributors to that. And the state of that, Ivan can correct me if there is some more stuff that is going on, which hasn't been put up in the repo yet. So currently, the three resources are sort of API wise are sort of complete at their alpha level. Post that, the latest most contribution by Maru was federating or possibility of federating the CRD types also. So you can name it federation of CRDs. So there is a mechanism that is now possible where any new user-defined CRDs can also be federated. But for all of these types, the lower layer mechanism would be sync alone. So if resources created in Federation using these lower layer APIs, they'll simply be synced and or placed into different clusters. So the current state is up till here. The next step, I guess, is moving most of this controller logic and the API definitions to actual CRDs, so that the need of separate API server or aggregation of API server also goes away. About the higher level APIs, I am into the process of implementing the scheduling types, which include the deployments and replica sets. Shashi has completed one round of one level of implementation of this service discovery, which includes DNS records creation into an external DNS server. So he also has an alpha implementation of the same using some mechanisms, which is sort of not probably the final go-to mechanism, but it's like a stopgap as of now. Yes, that is where we are at.
Just to go back briefly to the low-level APIs, so these three main APIs that you mentioned that are complete, which ones are those?
So the three main APIs for each different K-test type are the template, placement, and overrides. So for each K-test type, these are the three APIs which are defined. So there is a generic way of defining these as of now.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And the missing one appears to be propagation. So we had a low-level component proposed to propagate overridden templates into clusters. Is that also part of that work, or is that?
Yeah. So when I was updating about the latest contributions by Maru, so this exact implementation of propagation also has been done. So earlier, before this, it was something like for all the or for any API type that you define in federation. For example, you say you want to federate a secret. You define three types: federated template, placement, and override. And there was a controller written. So if you have a API type installed in the API server, it would anyways run the sync loop. And based on placement and overrides, will place the a particular resource with some modifications or without modifications into individual clusters. Right now, he has implemented another resource, which, as far as I remember, the name of that is, Ivan can correct me, I don't exactly remember the name of that right now, but that resource can, using that resource, you can define the behavior of propagation or not. So it can do more stuff, but the behavior of propagation can now be defined using YAMLs for each type.
That's right. It's a federated type config, I think is what you were thinking.
Correct. Federated type config, yes.
Yeah, and
so Ivan, please go ahead. You can give a better update probably.
No, I was just going to say that we are working towards a alpha release of Federation v2. We have some things that we need to accomplish first, but eventually we'd like to get to that alpha release and start getting some more feedback. But the federated type config allows you to basically specify what type of resource you're wanting to federate, and in it you can specify whether to enable or disable propagation. And the existing Federation v2 codebase does have a push propagator that's implemented as part of the repo. But certainly that could be expanded to include other types of propagators.
Correct. So this resource basically can be used to utilize that push propagator or not. Like this resource can define if you want that propagation to happen or not.
Yeah, so basically all we need to do now is define a federated type config API resource to enable the specific Kubernetes resource types to be federated. Eventually, we'll move to make that new API a CRD as well. And as Irfan was saying, we're moving towards trying to be able to specify and federate any CRD, any custom CRD that a user may want to federate.
And do you have a target? You mentioned that you're planning to move to alpha and get some feedback soon. Do you have a target date for that?
We don't have a target date yet. We just created a V1 Alpha 1 milestone in the repo, but we'll probably need to kind of discuss in the working group over what things we want to include in that first release and make sure we can get a date set for something soon.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like that date was originally targeted at the end of June or beginning of July. Does that sound reasonably sane?
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonably sane.
Cool. And it sounds like the high-level APIs are on a similar project plan. So federated deployments, replica sets, services, etc. Seem like they might go into alpha around about the same time. So maybe we can coordinate those two efforts.
Yep. So tomorrow's meeting, we probably would put this as one of the items for discussion.
Cool. Anything else for the agenda before I just move on to giving you a quick update on new contributors?
Hey, Quentin. So I'm here. I can give a quick update on the cluster registry.
Oh, awesome.
I sent out some email announcements, but I'll sort of repeat here. So the cluster registry of the last few weeks has migrated to being a CRD-based instead of an extensions API server-based implementation. This was, I think, a very valuable transition effort because it reduced the amount of code in that repository significantly, which should make the maintenance burden going forward significantly lower. It also gave an opportunity for us to use the Kube Builder tool, which hopefully will make the continued maintenance of the repository, regenerating client code and such, and regenerating documentation a more lightweight process rather than us having to maintain our own scripts and tools for doing that. I also added namespaces into the cluster registry object, which had been decided on a few weeks ago, but after the CRD conversion, I made the relatively small change necessary to add namespaces. At this point, there are still a few smaller tasks outstanding as follow-up items. I think probably the biggest thing remaining that we would want to do would be to make sure that all of the validation, Open API validation or webhook-based validation that we might want to add is working correctly and validating the properties of the cluster objects that we're creating. Beyond that, I think it should be relatively soon that we can move the API to beta. I think at this point there's not really much of anything blocking it. The one thing that I might want to do is there has been a bit of discussion about whether we could add a simple conditions object to the status. I think I will probably post a PR for that. And I've also been thinking about on the side about controller off versus off for controllers interacting with the cluster registry versus off for users interacting with the cluster registry. And I may propose a change to the API to try to better demarcate those use cases and hopefully support making it easier for people to figure out how to write controllers and providing some patterns for people to write controllers, again, that interact with the cluster registry. So I will be working on that, I think, over the next few weeks and hopefully sending out some PRs with that work.
Sounds great. Thank you very much. So it sounds superficially like you might also be on track for beta end of June. Does that?
Yes, I would think before the end of June. At this point, I think I would safely say before the end of June, but given the potential for vacations and depending on if reviewers go on vacation, probably safer to say certainly by the end of June.
Cool. Thank you. If I've left anything, I've been taking notes as we go. If I've left anything out or misrepresented anything, please fix up the notes for me. Cool. Okay. Then is anyone from CERN, Cisco, GitHub, or Upbound present today? No. Okay. Well, I'll give a quick summary. So these are 4 organizations that have contacted me recently and wanted to get involved in multi-cluster in general. CERN, some of you probably saw the presentation at KubeCon Europe a couple of weeks ago, and they are very keen to contribute some of the work they've done to open source. So somebody needs to just reach out to them and figure out the details of what they have and how we fit it into the various efforts. I think most of it is in the Federation V2 area, but I can follow up there with the necessary people. So yeah, I can get myself a to-do there. Then Cisco also approached me recently about wanting to get involved. And they have, I gave them a couple of options. One was to help out with the federated ingress stuff, which sounds like it's pretty overstaffed at the moment. But independently of that, the other option I suggested to them was to build a multi-cluster simulator so that we can test large multi-cluster deployments in various different guises, which they have taken on and will be coming to this group soon, I think, with some designs and proposals. The general idea is, it should be easy to, it's pretty difficult at the moment to, for example, set up a 100 cluster federation. So having something similar to, what did we call the thing for scalability testing in Kubernetes? It has a name that is eluding me for now. But we similarly built a simulator to, build pseudo clusters of 5,000 nodes. We would similarly like to build sort of pseudo federations of maybe 100 clusters. So they will be working on that. GitHub just reached out to me this morning. I actually suggested that they join us, but I guess maybe they didn't make it. And they also want to get involved. They have some internal, they're actually using multi-cluster and I believe federation internally in GitHub. And so they want to kind of just get a little closer to this group and figure out where they can help and what work they can do. I will follow up with them outside of this and get some more details. Hopefully we can get them to present something next time about where their interests lie and what they plan to do. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Oh, I think we're updating 2 different sections with the same information, but we can clean that all up afterwards. And then Upbound are also working on federation. This is a recent startup that came out of Stealth a few weeks ago. And they have been doing some work. They've actually scheduled a meeting later today with me just to tell me what they're up to. And I believe they want to contribute here as well. So TBD with some more information there, hopefully next time. I will similarly follow up with them. And on that topic, I am sort of currently of the impression that that cluster registry is mostly kind of under control at this point. Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't seem like there's a large amount of new development to be done there. So I'm on that basis, when people step up to help, I'm sort of telling them that they're probably more valuable on the Federation V2 stuff, which has a bigger backlog of development work. But if that's not accurate, please do let me know. If you want more people to help you out on the cluster registry, that can certainly be done. And the same goes for kubemci. I was under the impression certainly that the non-federation version of that was mostly done. And it doesn't seem like there's a big backlog of work there. And we can certainly figure out what to do with the federated version of multi-cluster ingress, which seems like it has a lot of people interested in working on it.
Quentin, this is Ian. I think for your assessment of the amount of development required right now is correct, probably for the multi-cluster ingress as well as the cluster registry. I think for maybe the new members, it would be good to understand their scenarios, but also to encourage them to leverage things like the cluster registry API if it makes sense, so we can get more feedback from people who are actually using it.
Yeah, I have definitely been doing that, and that's been a common thread through all of the discussions I've had. Most people seem, to need a cluster registry, and they want to use the one that Jonathan has built. So yeah, absolutely, that's kind of taken as a given. But it doesn't seem like there's a lot of actual development work to be done there. So okay, seems like we're all in sync then. If that changes, if any new big development areas spring up in any of the projects that I'm not aware of, please let me know and I can direct people accordingly. Awesome. I think we're pretty much done with the agenda for now, unless anyone has anything to add. So Irfan, if you could just make sure that the relevant people have if we do need to do more updates next time. It seems like we covered most of the ground except kubemci. So we can put kubemci on the agenda for a status update next time. And then I'll also reach out to these new contributors and get them to tell us what they're up to. Cool.
So one thing, I have not been posting SIG videos recently. I was having issues with my machine for the longest time, and they were failing to upload to YouTube. I don't know if somebody else would be willing to take those videos and attempt to upload them to YouTube and add them to the proper playlists. I don't know if you will necessarily have the correct access to do that. I will try after this meeting to upload the SIG videos and see if that upload is successful. If they are, then I'll just continue to do that. But if not, I will probably send out a note asking for help.
Cool. Do you know the nature of the problems you're having, Jonathan?
I do not the problem is when I attempt to upload the videos, YouTube tells me this video cannot be processed and provides no more information as to what could be causing it to not be processed. I haven't yet dug into the source code to attempt to track down the problem. I think I probably have more important tasks on my plate. I was getting some help from SIG from sort of the Kubernetes admins with this, but I don't think I can continue to just ask them to upload the videos. So if I can't figure this out on my side, I think I will probably have to pass it on to someone else in the SIG to do this.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that this is more Contribex stuff than Federation or multi-cluster stuff. So they're all able to successfully do it, and you seem to have something specific to your machine or your account or something that makes it fail.
Yes, the last I tried. I haven't tried for some time. I will give it a try today with all of the videos from the past several weeks. So my apologies that they haven't been put up.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to send me a link to one of them just to test out, see if I have the same problems as you, I'm happy to do that. I'm loath to take on the responsibility for doing all the uploads every week, but we can certainly do some testing to figure out if it's just your machine or not.
Oh, sounds good. Yeah. Thank you.
Jonathan, I think you raised this earlier also once. So if you want any of us to try it out, maybe you can put it onto some cloud location and share it with us, and we can try.
That sounds great. So I will do that after this meeting.
Probably Drive, yeah.
If I can't get it uploaded today, I will do that afterwards and send out a note to people.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. I think we can wrap up there and get 25 minutes of our lives back. See you in 2 weeks. Oh, and just to remind everyone, the Federation V2 workgroup sync is tomorrow. Same time as
same time. Yeah, the same time.
Okay. See you there.
Bye, guys.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.